Candy, and that's Debbie. And today we have a special guest, Sonya. Sonya's with us. She is one of Debbie's great friends from North Carolina.
Sonya has a wonderful story. I've known Sonya for several years now. We're in a Bible study together with just an amazing group of godly women, and there's a lot of wisdom in this group. So this is my go-to group of people that I lean on for encouragement. Sonya has a grown daughter named Jenny. Jenny came down with COVID. Now, what makes it different is Sonya's daughter, Jenny, had just gotten married a few months before. She's 23 years old. Jenny has asthma, and this was in the early stages of COVID before vaccinations were out. And they found out about this the day they were at a funeral for another friend who died of COVID.
Back in March of 2021, Jenny came down with COVID on a Tuesday. She actually wound up in the emergency room and went home and was doing at-home care. And then on Saturday, as Debbie mentioned, we were at a funeral for a family friend, and she was admitted to the hospital that day. Seemed to be getting along okay, seemed to be going in the right direction. And of course, at that point in time, nobody could be with a loved one in the hospital with COVID. They had these huge air machines in each of the rooms. About the next day, Jenny turned south and wound up in ICU. They were talking about transferring her to another hospital. She's 23 years old. She's in ICU. She's isolated. I mean, she couldn't even get up to go to the restroom by herself. I mean, literally everything she had to depend on somebody. She's got IVs in both hands. She's got the high flow oxygen. I mean, it's just a really, really scary thing for anybody. But she had some wonderful nurses, wonderful caregivers. Her CNAs just were precious to her. I would say be compassionate to those that are around them, caring for them. So often we had no idea what these people had seen over the past year with COVID, with being so isolated, being scared of being in those rooms with that disease. She had a wonderful respiratory therapist and so many others. I mean, the nurses would wash her hair and braid it. And I would just cry because it was something I couldn't do for her. Mom and dad can't be with her. So we were praying a whole lot. She had her phone, so we were FaceTiming. I mean, she was just so anxious. You could see the monitors as we would FaceTime. You could see the O2 levels, and there wasn't anything you could do about them, but you would just sit and stare. At that point, I felt a little like Abraham. We had talked about this, Debbie, that I had put my child on the altar. There was nothing I could do. She was holding her own, and then her pulmonologist changed on Friday. And he was very harsh with her when he came and visited with her. And he told her, you need to understand the seriousness of this situation. So I asked him, I said, could you please call me? So he did. He called me, and I went outside and I sat by a tree, and I told him, I said, I can't even imagine what you have seen over the past year. I think he was just war torn. I truly think he was war torn. And I think he had so many people that came in that maybe didn't take this seriously. I tried to explain to him, we've been through this before with Jenny. She was 2. She was in ICU with asthma, and we were on a vent watch then. Let me tell you, she understands the severity. It is not lost on her. What is not doing her any good is being negative about it, because that is not going to help her recover. The next day he came in, the same pulmonologist, and I want to say it was a miracle, because he was Team Jennifer. He was Team Jennifer. He encouraged her. I learned from him what his concern was, that when you're on a vent watch like that, you have very short amount of time if your O2 drops to get you on that vent so they don't lose you. And so I said, okay, I get that. I understand that. So I went back to Jenny. I said, here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. Everything you do, you're slow like a sloth. Every time we talked about Jennifer doing something with it, Jennifer, you got to be a sloth. We even bought her some sloth socks at Target and sent them into. So she had sloth socks. We're going to put a schedule in place. We're going to prone, because we didn't know about proning. So we didn't know about laying on your stomach. When you get up to move, you're going to do things slowly. You're going to roll to your side and let your O2 recover. You're going to sit up, let your O2 recover. You're going to stand up, let your O2 recover. And then you're going to walk to the chair. And she was so good about it. With COVID, there's no linear improvement. So it's back and forth, back and forth. But she was making the right steps. Then she came off the high flow, and we prayed a lot during that. We put her on the altar because we knew we couldn't do anything. She said, I told God if he would help me, I would tell him all about God. And that's what she did. Anybody that came in, she was, the Lord did this. The Lord did this. Her sister was so concerned. How can I help her? What can I do? I said, call them, see what you can do. And the nurses were so gracious and let them come and stand outside the door. And she was laying on her stomach at that point in time. Jenny, turn over. And there is her husband and her sister jumping up and down at the door. And it was,
That's awesome.
Lots of tears. We FaceTimed, we read books, we read the Bible, we looked at picture books, we played games. All something to distract her. My mom and my aunt, who cared for Jenny when she was growing up, are in heaven. But growing up, she always cut the crust off the kids' sandwiches. I have conversations with my mom a lot, as we all do with those that have passed. And I remember saying to my Mom, you're closer to the throne room than I am. Please go in and plead on Jenny's behalf. We're on FaceTime with her, waiting to get the word for her to come home. It's lunchtime. She picks up the cover off the tray, and it's a chicken salad sandwich, and the crust is cut off. And it's like, my mom saying, get your backside home and get better. And we both just, cried.
Till Dallas, we have the package.
We have the package. We have the package.
What advice would you give to another mom of an adult child that's in a life-threatening situation?
Pray. Pray and know God is in control. What comfort I found in this whole process was I already had the assurance that I knew where Jennifer was going to be if she did not make it here. If the Lord decided to take her, I already knew where she was going to be. And that was such a comfort to me to know that. I had an exclamation point instead of a question. That was a comfort.
Sonya, thanks so much for joining us. And we're just thrilled to hear your story. And we know other people will be happy to hear it too. So thanks for joining us, Candy. Until next time.
This is Grandma's Out of Control. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.